name's Anne Lee. I am a photographer and I have been working with the military. I've traveled all over the world to photograph their different activities and operations. I discovered photography by chance. I studied biology like any child of immigrant. We needed to do something that was practical. I had an extra course that I could take an elective. So the next available thing was photography. And I immediately fell in love with the medium. I grew up in Vietnam, and my life, my childhood, has been shaped by war.
This is Pleiku, 250 miles north of Saigon.
200 homes in a village nearby were leveled as the VC used the heaviest...
Growing up in Vietnam during the war was actually not that dramatic for me. War was part of our life, and we'd wake up and go to school, and at night there would be mortars falling. I don't think I ever realized how frightening the war was until I was actually in the United States looking at the news and looking back at footages. I think that's when I realized how scary it all was. I've always found the military an incredible enterprise. It's an overwhelming force. It's sublime because it's inherently horrific and beautiful. People tend to look at the military, they tend to look at war, they tend to look at conflict as something very black and white, and it's not like that at all. So how do you approach a subject and explore it in a complicated way? And I think that's what I'm trying to do. I work with a 19th century style camera. It's a tool just like a painter chooses a particular palette. And the view camera and the larger negative and its descriptive power is my tool. The 19th century photographers inspire me because it's a cumbersome camera that they managed to take onto the combat field and use it. And so there's no reason why I can't do it. I knew that it was time to deal with the specter of the Vietnam War. And how do you deal with something that happened in the past as a photographer? And by chance, I heard about these Vietnam War reenactors, so I was able to find a group, went down and photographed them. I was given different choices of what characters I could inhabit. And I could be the Viet Cong guerrilla, I could be the combat photographer. I wanted to pick a character that would allow me to move back and forth between the GIs and the Viet Congs and the North Vietnamese Army. And it seems that the Viet Cong, the guerrilla, would be a good character. I was a keystone to the reenactment because suddenly they had a real Vietnamese woman who was a Viet Cong. And it just really boosted, the authenticity of the event. I had demons to try to overcome, and I quickly realized that they were working out their issues, and so I thought it was an interesting moment that we all came together to make these pictures. The day the war started in Iraq in 2003, I became extremely distraught. Being an artist, I thought of ways to deal with that. I came across pictures of the Marines training in a Marine base called 29 Palms outside of Los Angeles near Joshua Tree. And the landscape looked like parts of Afghanistan. And after working with the reenactors, I thought, well, a stand-in for Afghanistan could just be great. So I called up the public relations department at 29 Palms and asked for permission to come and photograph there. Even though it was training, it was for real. The scale is enormous. You're dealing with fighter jet planes, you're dealing with tanks moving across the land. And so the level of intensity was multiplied 100-fold. You could really see that it was training for war, that it was a set, that it was a theater. So it comes down to how do you incorporate that in the landscape. And it's about trying to find ways to layer the description of the land with my interest in culture, my interest in architecture, and then also my interest in all of the current issues that people are concerned with. But I think in the end, I'm really trying to understand the effect of war in my life. I think photography is inherently ambiguous, and that's something that I look forward to and that I want to take advantage of. I think those are the most interesting pictures, the ones that have tension, that sort of border on the information and the subjective. And it's that tension that I'm interested in.
I first discovered Ann Mi Lee because of this picture. From there, I had to find out who this artist was. Once I did a little digging, I came to find that she's a photographer that has no issues trudging through problems presented to get her great work. I too am about jumping through any necessary obstacles to capture a unique vision, so I was naturally enamored with her work and the effort she put in. In this presentation, I have shown you a wide array of her works, but I have left out a majority of her trap rock work. Trap rock was her experimenting with a quarry and a few mills. If ever you are tentative about making a shot happen, I hope you can look to someone like Ann Mi Lee to light that make shit happen fire within you.